back to another tropical outlook and discussion for September 8th. I know I haven't made a video, but I did do a live stream yesterday, and by the end of it, I replayed it, and it seemed like the audio was not working how it's supposed to be. It was like echoing my voice, so I need to see how to fix that. But besides that, we're just gonna do a quick update, outlook, and discussion for Invest 92L and Invest 91L, and soon to be Invest 93L. So things have really gone crazy. Yes, potentially PTC 3 or 4 will be developing by later tonight. I definitely see it. So let's read this just a bit. An elongated area of low pressure located over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico continues to produce large area of showers and thunderstorms. Satellite derived winds show that the system does not have a well-defined center. I can agree on that. I've been doing in the weather chat, really asking some people and even looking for myself, trying to draw arrows and see where the best clouds is. It doesn't seem like it's fully formed, but it is in that phase where it is two converging low pressures and becoming one. Then they do say, but however, the storm is producing 40 to 45 mile an hour winds on the western side. So once we do get a low level center, I do see this becoming a 40 to maybe even a 45 mile an hour tropical storm right off the bat, or in the next update, the PTC, and then tropical storm by tomorrow morning. Could be already like a 50 mile an hour tropical storm by tomorrow morning. I wouldn't be surprised. But they do say environmental conditions appear conducive for additional development, and a tropical storm is expected. Keyword, tropical storm expected to form during the next day or so. So we are now at that point where, yes, we are going to at least see one tropical storm before the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. And then they do say the system is forecasted to move generally northwestward, then northward near along the Gulf Coast and of Mexico and upper Texas, Louisiana coast, with additional strength and possible by middle of this week. So that is pretty much it. They do say tropical storm watches could be required for the portions of the coast northwestern later this afternoon or tonight. So this is why I do think PTC 3 is going to be happening by the 8 p.m. update or the 6 p.m. update or the 11 p.m. update. Maybe even a tropical storm. But they do say with additional watches possible along the Texas coast and Louisiana later tonight or Monday. An Air Force Reserve hurricane hunter is currently en route to investigate the system. Additional information on this storm, including gale warnings, can be found in the high seas forecast issued by the National Hurricane Center. We do have a 90 and 90. I know in the thumbnail it does say a bit lower. I did make the thumbnail yesterday for the live stream. I'm just going to use it for this one and then probably go live later and try this once again. So, what do we have here? Alright, let's play this pretty quickly here. So, one thing we notice is we do have winds moving like this. Alright, that's very noticeable. We do see winds coming back in this way. And then these winds do come down. But then I do notice a bit here. I'm noticing, looks to me that this is starting to combine on the lower side of this cyclonic flow. We do see now some winds doing something like that. You can tell in the low levels. We still got winds producing like this on the southern side. So you can tell it's not fully developed yet. And then you can honestly see still winds doing something like this. Winds like this. Winds like this. And then something like that. So that is pretty much what's going on here. So if we really look at this now, so this is our one area of vorticity this is updating, is down here in this X. But we do have a second area, and I do think this area is currently stronger. But what's going on here is we're seeing both of these X's, both of these low pressures congealing with one. So I do expect a bit of, you can tell in this, what the satellite looks like on here is, if we delete all this, is this low is kind of moving like this, and this low is kind of moving like this. So they are still in the process of congealing into one. And at the same time, we do see some very high clouds on this northern side here, on this northeastern side here. And before we even take a look at the models and stuff, the water temps, let's now go to long wave here, and we're gonna just quickly look at this. Alright, what do we notice here is a lot of thunderstorms developing on this side of the storm right here, where I just circled. Some convection on the southern side, but we're gonna have to see how this looks later tonight. This could be a bit of more of an issue, but that's pretty much it with the satellite imagery on that. Here's the European ensembles. As we start looking at some of the models, they do expect, once again, a congealing low somewhere around here, and then moving northwestward, and then making that northeastward turn. And right now it looks like it could ride about 100 miles off the coast of Texas, and then eventually hit Louisiana. That is right now the forecast with the European ensembles. And if we take a look at the GEFS ensembles, pretty much same thing here. So let's switch to the 12Z. One thing we do notice is some stronger tracks. Once again, the same thing. We get that congealing over here, and then this goes right back up in this way. And we do now see with the ensembles of a potentially a strong tropical storm to a category 1 hurricane on all of them. So that's pretty interesting. Then if we now start taking a look at some of the forecast models, I'm telling you right now, we're really going to have to watch this, because take a look at where this system is in the next 24 hours. Does expect it to continue to develop and congeal, but this actually strengthens pretty rapidly with a strong tropical storm at this point, with a 998, 996, 993. And then we do see, looks to me, some rapid intensification here as it moved northward. And at this point, this is a Cat 1 hurricane, 80, 90 mile an hour storm. And yes, and I know the GFS is probably a little bit tough on this one, but we do see a 973, 966. This is now entering major hurricane. I do not think this will become a major hurricane. And then we do see some even more strengthening. Right before landfall, we do see a 957 major hurricane Louisiana landfall. This is probably quite a bit overdone, but all I'm going to say we've been noticing in the last 24 hours is a more of a strengthening with the storm. So why is that? Let's take a look at some of the dry air. Dry air doesn't look like it's really going to be too much in this storm, as previous runs had it more exposed, and it moves a little bit faster, a little bit quicker on this so the dryer doesn't really get into it. Another thing that the GFS shows, if we look, is the shear. It's honestly in a good environment for this. I mean, there's a lot of cyclonic flow. There's nothing too much of shear. Yes, you see that, but look, the shear is not really anything. It's actually more enhancing its outflow. And if we look at the upper levels and find the 200 millibar winds here, we do kind of see that where there's not too much shear, maybe a bit, but this is more of a cyclonic flow type mode here. So baroclinic forcing on that. This ain't the only model that shows a Cat 1 or stronger. If we look at the Canadian on the shear while we're here, not too much shear, but it does make a landfall as a strong tropical storm or Cat 1 hurricane in the border of Louisiana and Texas. I do see that case scenario playing out too. And then if we take a look at the European, the lovely European, and yes, it's kind of going to be crazy, but the European today is showing a Cat 2 hurricane. We're going to wait to pivotal weather. I did not bring that up here. And let's quickly do this. I will be ending this very soon. I'm not trying to make such a big forecast, which we're going to be doing that tonight. This is more of a outlook and discussion. So sorry if I'm a little bit rushing it. Only reason is because I do have work at 4, and I'm trying to get this enough time to get things edited and stuff like that. Wrong Euro model. Speaking of me trying to save some time, we're trying to look at the right Euro model, not the APHIS. It's an RA model, I will say. I'm not going to say it's absolutely the top model out of them all. I do not agree with that, if anyone does think that. Let's go 72 hours out. This is about 3 days out. And what do we see here? 992 millibar storm. More of that Louisiana impacts. But this is about 3 days out, and it's still in the Gulf of Mexico. If we look 48 hours out now, this is, yeah, a 974, 4 days out, hitting Louisiana. And yeah, this is a 974 millibar storm. This will be a strong Cat 1 to a Category 2. And if we look at 90 hours out, this is pretty much when it makes landfall. So in the next 4 days, this is probably going to make a landfall. And it's not just the European showing that. If we take a look at the GFS, this is about 3.5 to 4 days out, and the same agreement on the GFS and European. A big model that was showing all this was the Icon, and we do see about 991 millibar storm. This will probably be a Cat 1 hurricane, according to the Icon, making a landfall in Louisiana. Been pretty consistent on that too. So most definitely, we're definitely going to see a pretty big storm here. That's pretty much the latest with those models. If we look at the HERF, why not? These hurricane models, once again, does show nothing big, honestly. It just shows a tropical storm. Nothing too much out of these invest here. Been kind of struggling. Besides the Hammond, kind of shows a Cat 1 hurricane making landfall. So that's pretty interesting. The NAIL model does show a strong Cat 1 to a potential Cat 2 hurricane. Where it was 60. Yeah, 6Z had it. And had it a little bit quicker, too. So, we're gonna have to see with that. But, before I do, wow, I will say, this is actually pretty interesting. This is the aircraft, and this might sound a little bit ridiculous, but they are finding extremely strong winds, in the invest here. Alright, we see winds up to about 50, 60 miles an hour in flight level. And we even take a look on this here, and we see winds, shockingly 50, 45 knots. That's about 55 to 60 miles an hour. This is probably a little bit overdone, but I'm very curious of the pressure and stuff, because if we do have a closed low level center, yeah, this could be a 40, 50 mile an hour tropical storm right off the get go. So that would be an extreme game changer, and this would mean, yeah, we're gonna have some issues in the next 3 to 4 days. Pretty crazy what we're finding with the aircraft so far, and that's in this deep thunderstorm convection on the northern side of this system. I'm gonna be very curious how this does evolve